Okay, just in from college, and before I go out to my knitting group, I wanted to share something that's been playing on my mind. I'm working on a project for a client around ethical careers, and the more I think about it, the more important I feel that in order to be ethical, you also need to be successful and sustainable. And when I say sustainable, I don't just mean that you're using sustainable resources, um, if you're a retailer, that you're using organic cotton or something like that for your product. I mean sustainable, financially sustainable. And the more I kind of think about it and how I'm going to run the workshop and how I'm thinking about doing the presentation, the more important I think it is to kind of emphasize that being a successful business and being a successful commercial business, and not a non-profit, but a really successful commercial business, is part of being an ethical business. And it's the same with your career. If you want to do something worthwhile and something that has a real positive impact on the environment, on the world around you, on development, then you need to be successful within yourself and your business needs to be successful. Last year, I went to a debate at Care International, and the panel were talking about businesses investing in Africa. And there was a lot of this kind of, there's a lot of good intention in the room, but the speakers that really struck me were the ones who talked about, look, you're not doing Africa any favours if you go in there half-heartedly without a solid business plan, and you don't go in there looking to develop the best and most commercially viable business, because then you're not going to be a long-term employer, you're not going to be a long-term purchaser of goods from that country. So I want to get away from this idea that in being ethical you're somehow being fluffier, or that it's all about the cuddliness of the brand, or the kind of left-wing tree huggerness of the brand. But it's about, yes, it's definitely about, if you can use recycled products, use them. If you can invest in a developing country, then do that. If you can save carbon emissions by, using transportation by sea instead of by air, if you can source things locally instead of using mass transportation at all, then obviously those are really positive, great ethical things to do. But I also think we shouldn't be telling kind of students and young entrepreneurs and people who are getting on the career ladder, or who are perhaps are business leaders of the future, that in order to be successful and ethically sound, you need to be a sustainable employer, you need to be a sustainable business, and you need to be covering your overheads and ensuring that you have a profit for the future. And then you're going to grow, then growth will happen. I got a bit on my soapbox there. It's just something I've been thinking about a lot, and obviously that's not the only element of an ethical career and an ethical business. But I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts or hear anyone's feedback. Have you thought about this? Has it had an impact in your career progression? I know it has for me. So I worked at the Guardian for nearly 7 years, and it's at least outwardly a very ethical business, inwardly as well, and it certainly has a lot of values that they try and stick to and that I hold really dear, and I did before I worked there, and I still do now that I've left. But certainly I changed my career last year when I decided to go freelance and reprioritise and take the want to spend a little bit more time being able to work on projects like Janie's school, which unfortunately has taken a little bit of a backseat recently while I develop my own business, but it's still very much the future, that the more successful I can make my business, the more time I can free up for me to work on things like that, which are charitable campaigns and not necessarily lucrative in any way. I obviously don't make any money from working on that. but it's still massively important to me. So I want to be able to have a successful business so that I can then balance out the other side of things. I'm also a Girl Guide leader and had to give that up for 2 terms so that I could build my business so that it's successful, so that long term I can still make that time and commitment to the girls, which are really important to me. So if on a personal level, I've thought a lot about what it means to have an ethical career. But what does that term even mean? You know, being an ethical business, being an ethical career, it's such a wide term that you can use, and it's a label that I think lots of people can use really easily. So I'd be really interested to hear people's thoughts on it, and you know, especially people who work in the charity sector, and I know a lot of people who work in the charity sector and talk to them a lot about this, and you know, how sustainable is it for you to carry on your career in the non-profit sector, charity sector? Have you ever been tempted away to the private sector, and what tempted you, and what made you stay in non-profit, and what made you want to go, or what made you move if you did move? I'm just really interested to hear people's thoughts on what an ethical career means to them. So yeah, I look forward to your feedback.